Hey everyone, welcome to my take two of the Repat Talks Stay at Home series. My name is David Bequette. Apologies to anybody that was listening in on our last feed. Hey buddy. We had a little bit of a technical difficulties. Say hi, Antosh. Yeah, this is Antosh, my youngest. These three. Our middle one, Nane, she's 4. So we're going to share with you a little bit about our story and how we're handling staying at home during these tough times, right, guys? Yeah? Okay. So once again, my name is David Bequette. I've been living in Armenia since 2011. I moved here from, we were living in St. Louis, Missouri before that. And we get our own soundtrack from Antosh during this talk. Okay, shh, let me talk, okay? I'll invite you in to talk in a little bit. So we moved here in 2011. Prior to that, I'm from Columbia, Illinois. I served 5 years in the military, U.S. Marine Corps. Was a government contractor, met my wonderful wife, Irina, while I was serving as a Marine overseas in Malta, and a little bit of a long distance relationship, some college and some back and forth travel, and we eventually got married and several years later moved to Armenia. As you can tell, we love Armenia and we're having fun here and enjoy being a part of this amazing country's journey. So to talk a little bit about what we've done since we moved here to Armenia, and please feel free to ask questions while we're going through this so I can answer any questions that weren't answered on our last call. But we started our journey in Armenia with the intention of being here for about a year. Irina was going to do her PhD or complete her PhD with research here in Armenia. And then we ended up staying because we opened a business called the Green Bean Coffee Shop. We ran that from 2012 through 2017, at which time I sold that business in order to go back to the U.S. and run for U.S. Congress. At the end of our campaign for Congress, we lost in the primaries, but I believe life, has its reasons and purposes. At the same time, the revolution was occurring in Armenia, so we made our way back here. At which time my wife joined the new government, and I came back hoping that I would be on a little bit of a vacation. But just a month into being back, I met with a gentleman named Armin Arujan, the CEO of the Foundation for Armenian Science and Technology. And he introduced me to all the amazing work that they were doing in the field of science and technology. Interesting enough, I have no experience in that field, but we had a shared vision of building something great, and Armin saw something in me and believed that I could bring some value to the organization. And I've been with FAST for now a year and a half. I run a unit called the Innovation Unit, which works primarily in entrepreneurial fields. In Armenia, we run several entrepreneurial programs, a venture builder, but we also do and develop and conceptualize large-scale initiatives designed around enhancing the science technology ecosystem, and more importantly, contributing to Armenia's science and technology ecosystem through the commercialization of science. So that's what I've been doing for over a year and a half. And now we find ourselves all in. He's going to reset my phone. It's fine. So my son is now locking my iPhone. That's like their favorite thing to do. So we've been, like many of you, hopefully staying at home for the last few weeks. and really experiencing the trials and tribulations of that. But the most important thing I think that we've gotten out of this is that we actually got a lot of perspective. Okay, don't turn that on. We've got a lot of perspective out of this and realized, what is most important in our lives, which is obviously family. Oh, you want the phone too? Mm-hmm. Okay, he just disabled the phone, so it's not going to work. So we've realized what's important, and that's the people that are close to us. And for those of you who have the privilege to actually be at home with those that are close to you, I know it's tough. It can be sometimes aggravating. It can be intense, but really take advantage of it because these are rare moments in our life where we actually get to spend more time with our families than we do at our jobs. What's up, baby? Okay. All right. You want to go around there? Go. All right. You want to stay here? Well, as long as you're quiet and making faces and not talking. So let's talk a little bit about our daily lives now that we're on quarantine. So I've actually had the opportunity to really enhance my productivity while being at home, because being at home with kids really forces you to buckle down and look at your schedule tightly and understand how to maximize the most out of every day. And I think we've really been doing that and enjoying that process. We have a really strict routine. We wake up much earlier than the kids, between 6 and 6:30 to start our day somewhere around 7. We try to treat it as if we're going to a job every day, even though it's really kind of that 10-meter journey from the bedroom to the kitchen table, which is now our new office. This is the kitchen, and behind there is the other part of the kitchen. So this has become Office Central HQ for the Bequette household, and this is where we do most of our work. Every once in a while I have to kind of disappear for a while in the bedroom or for a conference call, because these guys are super curious and always interested in joining in on the conversations. But we spend most of our time here in the kitchen working. We spend 2 hours in the morning, 2 to 2.5 hours in the morning without the kids, really setting up our schedule, putting together our task list, getting to those emails. For me, I do a lot of looking over our upcoming tasks, our timelines, our schedules, what needs to be done for the rest of my team. And then we get to work, and then of course the kids wake up. So we kind of rotate every day, getting the kids ready, dressing them, feeding them, and then swapping out the days and the hours of putting together really cool things for them to do. They've pretty much destroyed the house. I won't give you a tour, but we've got now what I've heard is not unremovable marker pretty much everywhere. I think it's normal in most houses with 3 to 4 year olds. So there's drawings all over the walls, but it's a small price to pay to keep them active. We actually learned a little bit later, too late, that the windows are really cool places to paint and draw on. So with the markers, the acrylic paints, we let them kind of tear up the windows, and then it just kind of wipes off. So that's been interesting. We also keep them active. We play fitness videos for them throughout the day so that they can exercise and keep active. And then we're lucky to have a courtyard in our building area where they can go out and play and ride their bikes while still adhering to social distancing. There are no neighbors or anything in the backyard. And I think for the most part, everybody in our area here is being strict about the social distancing. So that's a good thing. So I can hit on some of the questions that were asked yesterday that I think were really important. And then for those of you who are jumping on this video, please feel free to type your questions into the bottom the chat area of the video, and then I can then answer those questions as we go along. So a couple of the questions that were brought up yesterday. One was generally about living in Armenia and raising kids here in Armenia. So, we are absolutely fortunate to be here in Armenia. I love America. I love my home country. But I can honestly say, as a parent raising kids, I can't imagine a better place to raise kids than Armenia. It's super safe. The education system, despite maybe popular belief, is actually really good both from a public perspective and a private perspective. My oldest son, who's 11, Dov, you want to come here really quick and say hi? Come, hurry up and say hi. He's 11. He goes to Quantum Academy. So Quant, as they call it here. You didn't really say hi. So Quant, as they say hi, as they say here, which is a private school, but it's one of the oldest private schools, and it has a real heavy focus on mathematics and science, which is one of the areas that he's interested in. And he really enjoys it. He's been going there since first grade, and we've loved every second of it. Also, my son, he's 11, but for the past, 2 to 3 kids go on and study in local schools in here. Okay, that's a great question. So I'll get to that after I explain, the safety of Armenia. My son, he's 11. He's been traveling to school via Metro and Gigi daily since for the past 2 to 3 years. And I don't think there's a place in the world where you could feel confident putting your kid in a taxi or having a young child walk to the Metro and take the Metro. And it's a long Metro ride. It's about 30 minutes because we live at Barikamutun. And he takes the Metro all the way to Gaygin Nijde. So we never feel worried about that, and he's been doing it daily. And it not only is it great for us to feel that comfort and that safety, but it's great for him because he gets a little bit of an autonomy. He grows up a little bit more faster, meaning his maturity level is better because he handles that navigation himself. And, it's interesting because for dealing with the taxis, it also builds, that social component. One of the taxis that we regularly get, because we get the same GGs typically around here in the mornings. My wife got into a GG the other day, or I guess a few weeks ago. And the driver said, "Is your son that David kid that goes to Quant every day?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I want to let you know your son is he's an extremely polite young man, and every time he gets in the car, he says hello, and every time he leaves, he says goodbye and have a great day." So I think those kind of interactions are really good for young kids to have and kind of have it autonomously on their own without us hovering over him and saying, forcing him to say hello and goodbye. So one of the questions asked by CSOC, hello CSOC, welcome to the video, is will your kids go on and study at local schools and universities? And the question is, or the answer to that question is, it's up to them. As far as high school, if we're still here, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be, he would certainly go to school, high school here. As far as universities, I think my wife and I are pretty global in our aspects. She did her bachelor's at the University of Malta, her master's at the Diplomatic Academy of London, and her PhD at Cambridge. So for us, we're certainly not the types of parents that are going to force our kids to go somewhere of our preference. It's absolutely up to him. We've said the same thing about Armenian military service. We want that to be his choice when he gets to that age. He does have American citizenship, so that does give him the ability to get out of it if he wanted to. But I also, as someone who served in the military myself, I want him to have that choice. And wouldn't deter him from that choice either way. So schools, selections, and military service, I think that's completely up to him. So as there's no other questions, I'll go on to some of the other questions that were asked yesterday and address those. And remember, if you have questions, down below. Just type in your questions and we'll try to answer them. One of the other questions that was asked yesterday is about medical care. And I think that's a really important question given the current circumstances we live in, especially with coronavirus. First of all, my mother-in-law is a cardiologist, so I have deep respect for the cardiology field and deep respect for my Zokanj. I'm absolutely fortunate to have an amazing mother-in-law, and there's no evil jokes coming from my side of the table because we're really fortunate to have her in our lives. But as far as the medical system is concerned, I've actually been impressed completely, and I've been impressed since 2003 when I had my first, or 2004 when I had my first surgery here, when I was visiting as a tourist, visiting my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, who just walked in the door, and she's going to join the call. So if you have any questions for her as well. But I had my first surgery here and was really impressed by the care at the time, and obviously a lot's advanced since then. I had another surgery in 2012 when we were in a severe car accident and my arm was broken. I had a pole put in my arm and lots of metal and stuff, which is still there, and it's amazing. It's worked out well. So the surgery was impressive. And then, of course, with the coronavirus going on right now, you're seeing that Armenian medical system is handling this rather well compared to the rest of the world. And as far as general practice is concerned, we love the care that our kids get. Armenia is one of those rare places where it's affordable to have medical care, but it's also affordable to have those simple luxuries, like if your kids are sick, you can have in-house visits, and it's not going to break the bank. I don't know what it is, maybe 5,000-10,000 drams or something like that for a visit, but they'll come to your home, diagnose your kids, and if anything more serious, they'll tell you where to go. But it's really a luxury, and it's affordable luxury, and we're incredibly fortunate to have that. So I'll welcome my wife. I call her Irina. The little hidden secret is I've been mispronouncing her name since we met. And I just, now I have no shame because I've just been doing it for so long and I keep doing it, but everybody around her calls her Irina. So say hi.
Hi.
So I'll let you answer this question.
Which
if
one?
you want.
Sorry.
The last one, I didn't answer it. Do your kids have Armenian citizenship? What do you think about repats, expats not getting citizenship because of the mandatory military service?
Yeah.
You can scoot up.
No, so that we're even on the screen. Good evening, everyone. This is a great opportunity. Thank you, Repat, for hosting this talk, this opportunity.
Stay-at-home
talks. So my kids, my son David, the oldest, he was born in the United States. And our two other children, Nane and Anthony, were born in Armenia. So that by default, they both have citizenship because they're born here. And they also acquired U.S. citizenship as well. As for the mandatory military service, I'm not sure how that happens with children born in Armenia who have dual citizenship.
I think they would have to serve anyway.
Yeah, we haven't looked into it, but
Repat could tell us.
Yeah, Repat could tell us about that. But as I mentioned, David, our oldest, was born in the United States, and our two other kids were born here. And since David spoke about healthcare, I have to admit, and I would like to share the appreciation for doctors here. I had experience giving birth in the United States and had experience giving birth here in Armenia. And with all due respect to doctors all over the world, the experience I've had in Armenia was absolutely tremendous. Very caring staff, very caring doctors. My OBGYN was incredible. And overall, I felt that maybe because I was home, I don't know, but it was a much better experience giving birth here than it was in the United States.
You just gotta be quiet. Come here. He wants to join. They've already joined once, so they were at the very beginning.
So are the questions coming up?
Yeah, they're coming up. So the last comment, well, I think the second part is, what do you think about repats, expats not getting citizenship because of the mandatory military service? No, from a parental perspective on my side, look, I've mentioned this earlier. I have no problem with military service. I was in the military, but I also like the idea for my oldest, because he's an American citizen. I like the idea that he has a choice. You know, he, as a citizen of two different countries, he could actually choose if he wanted to join the U.S. military or the Armenian military. But as far as not getting citizenship just to avoid it, I don't know. I think that's up to every parent. I'm not going to step on that. It's you're the.
Well, I think it's a very personal question, and I think it's a question that should be given to the child once he or she reaches 18 years of age. Once they're adults, I think they should make the decision whether they want to serve in the Armenian military or not. And with all if they want to acquire citizenship and do that, I think with all the current reforms that we're seeing happening, I do foresee a significant improvement in the military service system in the country.
Okay. So Artsak says he's been watching a documentary about her last year on TV. There's a documentary about you on TV?
Maybe it was the show I got.
Which Artsak, what documentary is that? That's pretty cool. From what age did your oldest start going to school by Metro on his own? As a parent with a 3-year-old, don't send a 3-year-old on the Metro, please. I often question when it's the right time, though it's, of course, way too early. Wind it down. 9?
So,
9 was his first trip?
Yes, 9 was his first trip.
9. Yeah, I mean, come on. But this is obviously Armenia, and that's one of the great things about this place is that you can put a kid in a GG and in the Metro and feel confident that they do it. And of course, you have to know as a parent when your kid's ready. I think Dav is, he's always been confident in himself, and he's got good spatial recognition, so he knows where he's going. If your kid gets lost all the time, I probably wouldn't throw him in there too early. But he's done good, and we prepared him heavily for it. I think his first 2 years of school, I rode the Metro with him every day. So I would ride the Metro and then ride the Metro back. So he had a really couple years of navigating it himself. But how cool is it that you can put a 9-year-old on a Metro and feel not be worried at all about it, right?
Well, with all honesty, the Yerevan Metro is very
it's simple. Right?
It's very simple. It's only one line with a little tiny bit sticking out on the side. So so it's very hard to get lost, I think, even for a 9-year-old. But it's a very clean and friendly metro. It's very open. I don't know if you've been, whoever's been to the Yerevan Metro, you would have noticed that unlike the London to their metro in New York City, it's very open. So and there are how do you call these people that observe the line? They're very they're mostly women, and they regulate everything. They don't allow any food.
Don't ever take pictures in the
any
Metro.
Photographs. Metro is considered a strategically important transportation hub in the country. So it's very open, so you feel safe there, really, and because it's so simple, it's only a few stops. We did allow him to go very early on.
Yeah, and then of course we've been every once in a while we're late in the morning because it's a 30-minute Metro ride. So when he's late, we can have confidence in putting him in GG. I'm a big proponent of Gigi. I'm a fan of Gigi. I think it's probably the cleanest, safest transportation in Armenia. And yeah, the ones. Oh, Tamar's coming. That's true. Yeah, the ladies at the top and the bottom of the stairs. Yeah, you know, the funny thing about those ladies is I have consistently and constantly over the last, since 2011, so whatever, 9 years, I absolutely, when I walk up there, I give them the biggest buttocks and smile I can possibly manage. And I think some of them recognize me because I get some smiles back now. Is it better to be an American in Armenia or an Armenian in America? I don't know what it's like to be an Armenian in America. You know what it's like to be an Armenian.
Like.
I don't think it's better.
I think America is so different that it's hard to pinpoint to answer that question. I would say that it was much better to be an Armenian on the East Coast and West Coast than it was in Middle America. No offense to the Bible Belt and to Middle America, but I think because of the diversity on the coast, every nationality feels welcome, feels part of the communities that they live in, as opposed to Midwest, particularly rural areas where people are not used to seeing diversity. So to answer your question, the coasts are definitely friendly, and it's great to be in United States, work, travel, study on the coast. But when it comes to Midwest, it's a little bit different story.
And I love being an American in Armenia. So it's better to be an American in Armenia than an American in America. No. Oh. I'm saying an American in America. I think it's better to be an American in Armenia than an American in America. But and I'll tell you why. It's a complete rat race in the U.S. It's a huge country with a lot of competition for everything, and you know I've been fortunate here in Armenia to do so many things that I wouldn't be able to do in the U.S. And I think a little bit of talent, a little bit of skill with good intent goes a long way here, and I think that's it's been an advantage for me. Whereas in the U.S., it was just a constant grind, and it's super competitive all the time. And competition's good, but sometimes it's draining. It's draining for family life. It's draining for your community. So absolutely, being an American in Armenia is great. It's great. What else? I think I shared everything. I talked about our schedules and working in the mornings and how we do things. Was introduced to the kids. You guys got anything else? Remember, you can put your questions down there. I feel like Tamar is leading the way on driving the conversation. What do you think?
About?
I don't know. How is it right now?
It's definitely tough. It's unusual. Money diary.
What the heck is a money diary? Talk about money diaries? Oh man.
Well, you figure that out.
I'll figure that out. Like while you're talking about the current situation, I don't know what a money diary is.
I think things won't be the same again, and I think they should be different and they should be better. I think it's an opportunity for us outside of the situation with coronavirus and quarantine. I think we all have to take this opportunity to stop. And as you said, rat races all over the world. Pause and value things that we have, and commit to doing things different and hopefully better. I think that's a sign from the nature, from the planet to us that we need to engage in deeper understanding of how we communicate with the planet, how we communicate with nature, and how we want to bring up the next generation in what type of a world and what type of ecosystems. So I hope that this would be a huge lesson for all of us to be different as we come out of this situation stronger and wiser.
So an approximate budget to live in Armenia for repats. Man, that's always such a tough question. Okay, so he's like a soundtrack. He's like a walking soundtrack all day long. So I think the simple answer to this question is it's much cheaper to live in Armenia. You can make it expensive if you want to. You could go out a lot, be more social. But there's real advantages. First of all, you have very few, if any, contractual large-scale obligations here, like you do in the West. For instance, insurance, car insurance is super cheap. Your phone bill is cheap. Phone plans. Yeah, I love the idea. Well, I don't have it because I have a company phone line. But I love the idea that you can have a phone and then it just ends when the minutes run out. That's pretty freaking cool. And you don't have to worry about paying for more minutes than you use. You can top it up. And they do have plans and stuff like that. In general, fruits and vegetables and other produce is super cheap here compared to the West. Even utility bills, if you do it right, you plan it right, are cheaper. They can be more expensive if you don't pay attention because electricity is not uber cheap. But in general, our electric bills are cheaper. And I think that being in Armenia, you get away from the... Yeah, we press pause on the rolling soundtrack. Okay. So anyway, I think it's cheaper. It's more affordable to live here. I've heard things like 6 times. I wouldn't say that. I think in general for us, we've realized it's about 3 to 4 times cheaper to live in Armenia than it is in the U.S. And have a good quality of life. So if you kind of figure that out from your quality of life perspective, that's pretty much how it is. Hey Gregory, you're back. Good to see you again, man. Hi guys. What's been the biggest challenge as a family? Family. Yeah. Family. What's been the biggest challenge as a family here in Armenia? What has been the biggest? Oh, you know what? I, from my perspective, I think the biggest challenge is just being away from my family and my father and my brothers back home. That's the biggest challenge. I think for us, one of the biggest challenges. Hey, don't lift that up because then the computer will flip over. So I think for us, one of the biggest challenges was early on that we were always so involved in social aspects of the country, and we always wanted to see the changes that are now finally coming to shape. And for us, it was always a big challenge to sit on the sidelines, even when we were heavily involved, but almost feel like you're sitting on the sidelines watching a train wreck sometimes. And it was really deeply emotional for us. So I think with the revolution as well, we felt a genuine kind of move in the right direction. We felt like finally all that work that, every demonstration we were going to, all of the elections that we were monitoring and all that stuff was finally, paid off, and all that work paid off. So I think that's been a couple of the biggest challenges. I don't know, I don't know if career-wise there's been really a challenge because we've constantly been building our careers here, so that's a good thing. So Slovak asks, David, how was the integration process when you first came to Armenia, especially that you don't speak Armenian? Yeah, that's a great question. I think because I've been traveling to Armenia so much, so from 2003 up to 2011, I had so many visits to Armenia. I had already understood what to expect, and I had a good support system here with Irina's family, and then I had a good support system in landing a really cool job running a large restaurant group when I first got here. So I think not knowing the language has been less of a challenge for me, and the integration process has been less of a challenge. And really, honestly, Armenia is super open to foreigners. It's despite the really ethnocentric makeup of Armenia, it's very open to foreigners, and there's a lot more people that speak English here than I think we give credit for. So being in this system and evolving here has actually been less challenging than most people would think. So what are some problems you've had with the educational system here? You would know better about that.
Well, our experience with the educational system in Armenia has generally been very positive. Back when we were trying to figure out which school to take, our oldest, our youngest are still not school age yet. So we were consulting our friends, and some of our friends that already have had experience gave us some good directions and some guidance. So we chose a college, a quantum college. It's a private school. But just to give you a perspective, private schools are generally a lot more affordable in Armenia than elsewhere in Europe or the United States. Except for QSI, which is the International Diplomatic School. And
no offense to anybody going to QSI.
And generally, we've had very good experience with the school, with the teachers. It's a little bit old school in terms of its system, but overall, we've been lucky to have the teachers we've had and the schoolmates that and now as well, when we're facing the system, when we're facing the online schooling issue, the teachers are very responsive, and generally
the soundtrack is back.
So generally, we've had good experience. Now, I know my personal experience with Armenian high school wasn't great because I had the opportunity to go to United States to study for 1 year through the FSA Flex program, and that was very eye-opening for me in terms of in high school how things need to change. And oops.
Hey, don't touch that, buddy. You could stop the video. You don't want to do that. Okay.
And so I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in high school.
Okay. So if this video stops, it's the soundtrack. You stop.
The high school definitely would.
All right, let me take one. I'll take it. Okay. Come here, monster. And higher education. So when we come to university level, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in university education and improving the quality. But elementary and middle school are generally quite good, and it's not just private schools. We have friends whose kids go to regular public schools, and they're satisfied generally with the quality. Yeah, I don't really hear a whole lot of complaints. I mean, every once in a while you get complaints. I think probably more of the complaints that we hear are actually the parents, and sometimes the mentality of the parents and then the students. But even those things are easily kind of ameliorated with conversations. So there's two other questions I'm seeing. One was sent via message because Shambi Sharp doesn't know how to post on the live chat. I'm calling you out, Shambi.
Mama.
But his question, and I'm reading it verbatim, is as a high-level recreational basketball player, I've heard you still play it at this age. I don't know what this age means, but how do you keep your form and physique while stuck indoors? This form and physique needs very little effort. You know, this just comes naturally to me. But it's a great question. You know, like I said earlier with the kids, we're doing a lot of these exercise videos. We do a lot of Zumba at home. So that's pretty much, there he is. So that's pretty much what we're doing to stay in shape. I've now considered, because this thing's going to be extended for another 10 days, I've now considered doing early morning runs with my paper and my passport. You need those to go outside, and do some runs in the gorge and stuff like that. Unless
You can't go to the gorge.
I can't do the gorge.
No, it has to be in the vicinity of 500 meters. So you have to.
Of my okay, so I'm going to run around in circles around our home for 500 meters. I'm going to have to Google map that. All right, so I have to stay within 500 meters of my home, and I'll probably run circles in the morning. But it's a great question. Another question, I like CSOC asking the tough questions. I'll answer this one so that you don't get put on the spot on this one. Are your expectations from the revolution being fulfilled, and what are they? Look, I don't really believe that most of us on the ground that were rooting for changes and institutional changes and regime change, I don't think any of us were really expecting anything other than a government that's human and accountable. And I think that's what we're, from my perspective, I think that's the best thing we're seeing. There's so much work to do, obviously. I mean, it's 30 plus years of institutional corruption and neglect. So there's so much to do, and the expectations are super high, obviously. And I think in some areas, obviously, they're doing well. Some areas, not so much. But at the end of the day, what's most important to me as a citizen, as I guess a resident, a citizen living here, and seeing things, is that I see a human approach to this, that I see accountability, that I see changes happening. Obviously, some of us want those changes to happen faster. Some of us also understand that incremental change is necessary. But I think at the end of the day, I think if we continue to see these changes, Armenia has a really bright future. And I think a lot of that has to do not just with this government, but all those people that were out in the street every day holding the government accountable. And those are the same people, mind you, that should be holding this government accountable as well. So in general, I'm optimistic. And Stepan Panosian, man, I love this guy. Good friend of mine. Was one of the first people I got to work for and work with when I came to Armenia. Thanks, man. You're too kind. You're amazing. We love you. Thanks for the compliments. And Shambi, welcome to the video. Maybe we can send him off now that he's stuck in dinghy mode. He loves coins, money, so we have to scrub them down with soap and wash them because he collects all of our extra coins around the world. Look, Antosh, look. So post your questions here if you have any other questions. Anything you want to add? Oh, look, I wanted to add this point. Since we're all in home and kind of struggling through this time, and wondering, what to do and how to think about this. Look, I'm optimistic. I think, everything in our kind of world and universe, it happens for a reason. And I look at this as a great opportunity. Humans have, kind of spent this last few decades building up to what we've seen around the world, which is like these autocratic governments, a real race for capitalism, whereas at the same time our planet's been hurting. We are in some of the slowest periods of major technological advancements because we've gotten into this kind of rat race of corporate rat race, which is not a bad thing. I believe in capitalism as well, but I think this is an opportunity for us as a species to really evaluate how important the planet is, how important the ecosystem that we live in is, how viruses like this are maybe a new norm, and how do we then live within that kind of spectrum. And I also believe this is the era where we as humans need to have the most advancements when it comes to technology and innovation. And I'm so heartened to be and lucky and fortunate to be right in the middle of that kind of innovation and technology and science building ecosystem. And I think over the next 2 to 3 years, it's an absolute must that some of the greatest breakthroughs in humankind and in the history of the human species has to come out. We need to cure cancer. We need to figure out how to save our environment and our planet. We need to do all those things, and we need to do them now. If this virus did one thing, it should have made us all realize that we need to be advancing now. Irina, John, can you talk more about anti-plastic policy?
I think that's a good transition.
Yeah, go for the anti-plastic.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I consider myself incredibly lucky and honored to be working for Armenian government and in Eric Grigoryan's team. I've joined his team in the Ministry of Environment back in June 2018. And immediately after that, we launched a roadmap of reduction of plastic and plastic use in the country. And the first target, was an obvious target. Those were the plastic bags. We've done an incredible amount of work in terms of collaborating with partners on undertaking research, working with other line ministries to understand what will be the economic impact, et cetera, et cetera. And after almost a year of hard work, we produced a piece of legislation which was adopted by the government and now currently enters the second reading in the parliament, by which the plastic bags will be banned as of January 1st, 2022. Their import and production and sale will be banned. Now, a lot of people asked us, why are we waiting for 2 years? We also worked with the producers, and we wanted to make sure that this provision is not going to hurt tremendously the producers, but gives them enough window to reformulate their businesses, restructure, reprofile so that they can produce other items or produce from biodegradable non-plastics, which are currently available as raw material and could be supplemented from instead of polymers. But again, going back, why plastic bags? It was important because, unfortunately, the pollution, particularly with plastic bags, became not only environmental but socio-psychological issues because we see plastic bags everywhere, especially after fall, when trees lose their leaves. We see plastic bags on trees. We see plastic bags in nature, very deep in nature. And for a lot of people, that started to become a norm, which is scary because that's when it becomes even more difficult to fight it. So we're solving this problem one at a time. First is this ban. Currently, we're undertaking a research. We already did a legal gap analysis on the options for bringing a bottle depository system in Armenia. And we've identified in the framework of one of our projects an opportunity to do economic analysis for bottle depository system. What that is, I'm sure a lot of Armenians and non-Armenians who are tuning into this conversation are aware of. That's when you have a system in place, and usually it's in supermarkets. It's a machine where you go and deposit a bottle. It's usually plastic, aluminum, and glass, and you get in return something, usually a coupon that you can use in that supermarket, or sometimes cash. In other countries, there are different systems. So we want to bring this to Armenia. So as I mentioned, currently we've done the legal gap analysis. Currently, we're most likely will be doing in the framework of one of our projects to conduct economic analysis. And hopefully after all of these iterations are done, we can put together a legal proposal and work with the private sector, because it's them who have to undertake that. We had a very productive meeting also with bottlers and importers of those containers, of those bottles. Most of them are on board, and we hope that this is going to be sooner than later. We need this also in place. And the last but not least is also we've identified the the need to ban single-use plastic items that have alternatives on the market. This is a path that European Union has taken, and we're following in those steps as well. We will be conducting morphological analysis of most polluted areas in the country to understand what these items are. For example, these usually are plastic cups, plastic cutlery, plastic plates, Q-tips, straws. And once we have evidence-based data from morphological analysis, we'll put together a list and ban these products as well. So that's in a lump sum what we're doing in terms of our fight against plastic.
Good job. You're awesome. There are 2 more questions.
Okay.
Just came in. So, come on, Seesaw, dude. Do you think COVID is a hoax? First of all, it's probably not for this conversation, but I've been fortunate not to know anybody who's died, but I do know people that have suffered from it, and it's a harsh and long-lasting virus to battle and to have. More importantly, I believe that science really upholds this, the methodology and means for maintaining a pandemic, and more importantly, if you don't maintain it, you can completely overrun a medical system. And a great example, if you look at the way Armenia is handling it, very early on, they were controlling it and breaking off those who were exposed and those that tested positive, and taking them away from the general population, which has really helped to maintain the spread. Obviously, it's going to continue to come, but the reason why that occurred is obviously because if you just let it spread, then the medical system gets overloaded with sick people, and then the ones that could have been saved don't have a bed, and they don't get seen, and your death rates go up. I mean, this is just kind of science. I don't have anything more to say to that, but anyway. So
there's a question from Slovak here about since the children are going to an international school. Correction, there it's not an international school.
Yeah, our
it's
kids
Armenian,
don't go to international
it's
school.
Armenian school. It's private, but it's Armenian school.
Well, I think he's probably the only. It was him and one other kid that were the only.
Yeah. Half Armenian,
half foreign. Yeah.
So currently, he's the only kid in school who is half Armenian, half American, or half foreign.
The rest is Armenian.
He doesn't have a problem with integration at all. Our youngest children, they speak more Russian than Armenian. As opposed to Davo. With Davo, I started because he was born in Armenia, in United States. I wanted to make sure that his first language was Armenian, so he spoke Armenian very early on, and
now he speaks all 3.
Now he speaks all 3: Armenian, English, and Russian. I think in the level of the proficiency,
which is another benefit to being in Armenia for my kids, because if you live in the U.S., being multilingual and maintaining that strength of your multilingual abilities is really tough, because everything is really, really focused on English. Whereas here, because you already have Armenian and Russian on a daily basis from almost everybody that is local, you get 2 languages, and then being inside of the home here speaking English, our oldest son was able to really grasp 3 languages early on, and now is, if you talk to him, you can switch in and out of all 3 languages perfectly fine. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, so we haven't had issues with his integration, and we don't think we'll have with the youngest ones either. There's another question from Tova. Many potential repats have a degree in environmental studies, but they are facing problems in finding jobs in their field. What would I advise them? So there are a number of great initiatives currently undergoing. The Office of High Commissioner launched a program called eGord, where repats and Armenians abroad who want to contribute with their professional knowledge can apply, and we consider the application. We look at their CVs and skills, and we try to match with the needs that we have in the ministry. But in general, again, those repats are welcome to connect with the ministry. The issue is that the EGOT program is good because it does provide additional financial remuneration, as opposed to if you just apply to the ministerial public service positions. They are paid very little compared to public service in the United States or other developed countries. But this is again subject to change, obviously long-term reform, but it will be put in place. But nevertheless, especially now since we've done institutional reforms with the ministry, in mid-April we will be posting a lot of new open positions in the ministry that people are absolutely welcome to apply. And also follow our page both on Facebook, on social media, and our website. There are always projects that we're doing with international entities in Armenia that have positions for experts and consultants, and we are always posting them and sharing them on our pages. Please like and follow for the opportunities. You can start with...
That was a great plug.
Yes, you can start with a project and then get integrated to our portfolio and find other opportunities to work with us. So
there was another question. I think it disappeared, but it's fine. I think it was an okay question. Sisak had asked why does he need Russian? He doesn't need Russian. No, he doesn't need Russian. No, he's learning Russian. It's part of his curriculum. It's part of his curriculum. He learns. So I think at Quant I think all the Armenian schools have 3 languages: English, Armenian, and Russian. Yeah, there's some experimental that have other languages on offer, but they study like French, like Spanish, German. But most Armenian schools offer Russian, and it's a great language to know. I speak Russian with my kids as well because it's a difficult language, and if they hear it from early on, they're able to grasp the language later in life. Yeah, and I'm jealous. Come on, I speak 1 language and 2 languages really bad. So I enjoy and love the fact that our kids are going to be trilingual and hopefully more than that. Our oldest is really, really good at languages. So Armenian is obviously his first language. English is second language, and then the third language would be Russian. But I'm excited because he's got a knack for it. He's interested in, and because he was integrated into so many languages so early on, from the age of 2, living here in Armenia, he was always in an environment of trilingualism. So that will give him an opportunity, in the next year or 2, if he wants to grab another language, he'll be able to pick it up much easier. So it's not about why would he need to. It's about, great. We love the fact that our kids speak many languages. From a nationalistic perspective, it's an absolute must that all of our kids speak Armenian and of course speak English so they can communicate with me, because we want them to, of course, be in touch with their Armenian roots and they live here. But as far as learning Russian, it's a great add-on, not necessarily a need. So that's an okay question. Anything else? I think we're out of time. We've got a minute and a half. I was thinking of how to do the science technology sector is helping the state to battle the COVID-19. Are there any initiatives? So this is a great question. So the Ministry of High-Tech Industries just launched a 22 million AMD grant program for startups and ideas and a generation of ideas and prototyping, I believe. I think it's a prototype. I don't know what the level is. I haven't gone in deep to it. But they're funding COVID projects or COVID-targeted projects. So the Armenian government is already jumping on that. So definitely check that out. I think you can check that out at the Ministry of High Tech's webpage or through their Facebook page as well.
There are also initiatives to map potential zoonotic diseases and zoonotic pathogens that could come in our region. That project is regional and is done with support with a number of organizations from abroad. I think once it has more clarity to it, it will be made public. But that's something, another aspect of this issue that needs to be talked about and researched further is COVID has been stated that it's the pathogen came from wild nature and had a zoonotic transfer to humans. So there's going to be probably a research on that in the region as well.
I think that's it. Our time's up. Thanks, guys.
1 hour.
Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us talk. Hope it was informative, and keep following Repat and their Repat talks. Thank you, Repat, for hosting this, and thank you for everything you do for the Repat Patriot community and the Armenian by Choice community. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.